So this week's parasha is parasha Ki Tissa, and it's really the hinge around this whole section of the book of Exodus. We have 5 readings in a row. We get 2 that talk about the instructions for building the tabernacle, and 2 at the end that talk about the building of the tabernacle, and Ki Tissa is sandwiched in the middle, and it deals with the golden calf. But the link between this coming week's parasha and the one we read this morning in synagogue, Parashat Tetzaveh, is dealing with the incense. Because this morning we read about the instruction to construct an altar for the incense to be offered. And at the beginning of next week's parasha, we read the details of which spices had to go into it. And according to the Torah, there are 4 spices. But the rabbis of the Talmud, they had a list of 11. They expanded from the 4 up to 11 spices that all had to be included, and none could be left out or added. What's most interesting about that list that the rabbis have is they say that there's these 11 spices, and that one of them, galbanum, has a bad smell. But nevertheless, it has to be included. Now, I've never smelt the burning smell of galbanum. I couldn't tell you what that is. But it's very interesting that the rabbis believe that the incense, if it didn't have this foul-smelling spice, it couldn't be kosher. And I think what it has to teach us is that, we're all imperfect beings. None of us are perfect in any way. We all have bits of ourselves that are less good. But actually, we need to bring all of that to God, all of that to the service of God, that everything, we are who we are. Now, the parts are 10 to 1, right? 10 good smelling to 1 bad smelling. We can't get to full perfection, but we need to work on it. But in the end, the rabbis say that the combination of all 11 spices was, on the whole, good and better because it had the galbanum in it. That we can raise up those parts of ourselves that are bad, bring them to God, and those things are holy and useful. We can direct those also to God. As I mentioned before, that Shabbat is a memory of the time in the Garden of Eden, the time when the world was perfect. So as we leave Shabbat, it's a time for recognizing that the world is not perfect. That in all the goodness that there is, there's always something which doesn't smell so good, that isn't so great. But perhaps we can learn to bring our whole selves and elevate even that to God.